one of the most common questions that I get is, how do I record my drums and how do I get such a crisp sound?
Well, first things first, I use triggers, okay? A lot of drummers frown upon these for some reason, thinking it's cheating, thinking it's not fair. For one, it's not cheating. It's convenient. But what are triggers and what do they do? What triggers do is transfer a vibration from your drum to a module so you can use synthetic drum sounds. Wow, that sounds like an electronic drum kit. That's exactly what it basically is.
You just program that you're playing some crazy fast stuff like it's cheating.
It's not cheating. Every hit is exactly measured to what you are hitting. You can change it to your digital audio workstation, but it won't match up what you're playing, so that it's not really cheating. But all of that is beside the point that I'm getting to today. Today we are comparing the cheapest triggers to some of the top line triggers that can run you up to $80 per trigger. Here's kind of a brief visual comparison. For the Chrome Elite trigger, we have a nice solid body, solid metal with no exposed wires, and it connects to the side of the drum just like this, and you turn this with a drum key. Pretty simple. And you also have a wider surface area to transfer that vibration. And here we have the $20 trigger as opposed to the $80. It's the ddrum Red Shot. It has exposed wires up on the top. I'll tell you why that's important in a second. It has a 1 1/4 cable connection, and yeah, it has a very small surface area. Obviously this one is broken off because, you know, things happen. But yeah, it has a small surface area to transfer it, and we'll get into the comparison and why you should buy this and why you shouldn't, and why you should buy this and why you should not. First and foremost, I was stumbled with a bunch of questions when I first was deciding to trigger my drums. I was like, well, why would I spend 80 bucks on a drum trigger as opposed to just spending the 20 if it does the same thing? Because that's what every video says. You look up, what's the difference between this trigger versus this trigger? And it's like, oh, and it shows you a bunch of sounds. The sounds are going to stay the same, the sensitivity might change, but you can't really tell that when you have someone who is comparing it, okay? So I was like, I'm just gonna get the cheapest because it's gonna do the same thing. Pros of the Red Shot. Obviously, it's the cheapest on the market. You won't have to spend an arm and a leg to get a full set. But one of the main cons is the exposed wires up here, okay? If you are a beginner or new drummer, or, you know, every drummer makes mistakes when they're playing kind of fast, you will hit the wire, and I've noticed one hit can completely disembody the wire, destroy it. But if you don't mind those little problems like, oh, I might have to fix a wire, or I know I'm not gonna hit it because it's off to the side and I'm a well-experienced drummer who's just looking for something to create a MIDI connection, go with this. It's the best bang for your buck. Or if you're just starting, learning how to trigger your drums, go with these. I would definitely recommend them for starters or beginners to learn how to, for one, control a module, for two, understand what a trigger actually does, and you're not gonna spend that much money. It's 20 bucks for one trigger. Also, an upside is the 1/4 connection, because the cost of cables is completely different, and you could also get a pack of, I think it comes with 4 of these and 1 bass drum, which it only costs 100 bucks with cables, which is not bad at all. Another downside to this trigger is the small surface area. It has a little surface area to create a connection, so it's not going to be that accurate, and you're not going to get the most accurate triggering. And by accurate, I mean some of your hits might not even count. Some of them might double, even though you put your threshold to the right stand and like everything is perfect. You might still get those occasional double triggers, and you still might get those occasional misfires, if you want to call it that. But overall, you get what you pay for, and if you just want to start out and see if it's your thing, it's 100 bucks and you can get the whole set to start. And yeah, I would recommend these if you are just starting. Now moving on to the Chrome Elite trigger. The Chrome Elite trigger, these can cost up to $75 per trigger, or $500 for the cable set with a snare, 3 toms, and a kick drum, and they're pretty pricey, okay, and a huge upside. XLR connection with a big surface area to transfer the MIDI connection, the vibration, okay? So you get a very accurate trigger, and you're not going to get as many double triggers or misfires as you would with the Red Shot. A huge upside to this also, like I mentioned in the last one, is the no exposed wires. If you hit this, it's going to do nothing. It's not going to affect the trigger in any way. It's not going to do anything. These triggers are honestly, I've only used certain kinds. I've used those Pintec ones. I threw those out. Don't buy those. They're just, it's terrible connection. They fall off. They're just, I would stay away from those. These are probably the best ones I've used. But all said and done, let's do some testing of the two, shall we? First, we are going to start with the D-Drum Red Shot, the $20 trigger. Let's go. Now let's dive into the $80 D-Drum Chrome Elite trigger. What I think we learned today is that no matter if you spend $80 on a drum trigger or $20, you're not going to see that much difference when it's a triggering. At least not a significant difference, okay? So, like I said, the appearance is better of the expensive because it's a solid body. You can just clip it on, plug it, and you're good to go. You don't have to unscrew a bolt or lug and plug it back in. It's mainly appearance and protectiveness. So the Red Shots lose on the appearance because they look kind of wacky. You have the wire hanging out, it doesn't go underneath, and the wires are exposed, so one little hit, it rips the wire, you got to replace it. Or what I've noticed is the little nuts holding it together will fall off. So it's just holding onto there, and then if you, like, you know, the wires are, it's very finagly. So overall, a trigger doesn't really impact the sound of the drum. It's tuning it through your module, which I can talk about in another video if that's something that's of interest. I'm also using a D-Drum DDTI for those who don't know. And if there's any questions about triggers in general, I can answer them. I've kind of went in blind because there's not really that many explanations. They're all just cut and dry, like, oh, this is what this does, and there's no in-depth explanation of what they actually do. So thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope you have a better understanding of triggers. And if you're interested in starting, that you're not thinking, I need to go get the most expensive ones or my drums are going to sound bad. It's all tuning, it's fine tuning, and it's a lot of appearance based when it comes to triggers. So, that being said,